If military force is used against Taiwan, this would constitute an existential threat to Japan. That's what the Prime Minister of the world's third-largest economy said. On November 7 in Japan's parliament. She used a phrase that had not been used in Tokyo for decades. Not a concern, not a crisis. An existential threat. Those words are not rhetorical in Japan. They are legal language. Because under Japanese law, the moment something is declared a threat to national survival, military deployment is no longer political. It becomes constitutional. China understood the meaning immediately. Because China had already warned her. On October 31 at the APEC summit in South Korea, Xi Jinping looked directly at Japan's new prime minister and told her, "The relationship between China and Japan must not be defined by problems. That is not diplomacy. That is instruction." Less than 24 hours later, Sanae Takaichi did the opposite. She publicly met Taiwan's representative and published the photo. She added, "I look forward to deepening cooperation between Japan and Taiwan." Beijing registered it as a violation of the One China policy. And then China did what it always does when diplomacy fails. It started counting. Within days, Chinese citizens were warned by their foreign ministry not to travel to Japan. State companies, the ones that control passports, ordered employees to stay home. Major banks did the same. Now watch the numbers. In Japan, Chinese tourists account for 25% of all foreign visitors and over 25% of total tourism revenue. And they are not casual travelers, they are the highest spenders. Per trip. $1,500 to $2,000 per person. Monthly total? $900 million in Chinese tourist spending into Japan's economy. The numbers collapsed almost immediately. According to flight data firm Chinese Trading Desk, 430,000 flights cancelled out of 1.4 million scheduled flights. Their CEO, Supermania Bot, said publicly, "These cancellations alone have already erased $500 million from Japan's tourism industry. And if this continues, Japan will lose $1.2 billion by the end of this year, $9 billion by 2026, and some projections say $14 billion. This isn't pressure, this is amputation." Then China moved beyond tourism. Beijing cancelled the Beijing-Tokyo Forum. An academic and political exchange that existed for 20 years, survived the 2012 crisis, survived territorial standoffs, public protests, and even frozen diplomacy. It had never been cancelled. Until now. Then Chinese universities shut their doors. In 2024, 124,000 Chinese students were enrolled in Japan. They made up 37% of all foreign students nationwide. Beijing also suspended student tours. That is tens of millions of dollars, all cut quietly from Japanese universities. Then Beijing escalated again. It banned Japanese seafood, cancelled Japanese concerts, and froze cultural exchange. And then China put it on paper. On November 21, China sent a formal letter to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, distributed it to every member state, and the message said, "If Japan intervenes militarily in Taiwan, China will respond under international law, the UN Charter, and self-defense doctrine." That is not diplomacy, that is a declaration without war. And while the ink was still drying in New York, ships moved in East Asia. Chinese patrols intensified near the Senkaku Islands in Japan, known in China as Diaoyu. These waters have been contested since 2012, but this time, Beijing increased ship numbers, increased patrol frequency, and pushed naval presence closer. Japan responded. Quietly, militarily. At Yonaguni base just south of Japan, just near Taiwan. Japan deployed Chusam missiles. Medium range, short reach, not symbolic. Japan's defense minister Shinjiro Koizumi stood there last Sunday and said the deployment would continue, no revision, no delay. This was no longer China versus Japan, this became who stands behind whom. Then Trump spoke to Xi, and hours later, he made it public. He spoke of Ukraine, spoke of trade. But did not speak of Taiwan. Then he spoke to Japan, not in public, not with a statement, not with a line of deterrence. Only a private call, only a personal reassurance. And then, America disappeared from the crisis. No declaration, no security language, no commitment. Just silence. Last week, the Tokyo Stock Exchange lost $127 billion in value. Investors saw something coming. Before the public did. And yet, Sanai Takaichi's approval jumped to nearly 70%, because pressure does not weaken nationalism, it feeds it. This is not a misunderstanding. This is economic warfare, diplomatic isolation, military positioning, legal framing, and market punishment. All layered, all deliberate. One side is applying pressure, one side is absorbing it, and one side, well, is refusing to speak. What is happening is not Japan versus China. It is China testing the American security system itself. Japan is not being punished, Japan is being used as leverage, as bait, as a pressure plate placed under Washington's foot. Because China understands something Tokyo does not, America today does not confront the world from strength. It manages it through risk. Trump does not measure Asia in values, he measures it in exposure, trade volume, supply chains, markets, inflation, and voters. And the problem now is this: America used to confront China from a position of insulation. Today, China lives inside the American system, inside consumer goods, inside pharmaceuticals, inside rare earths, inside batteries, inside energy infrastructure, and inside supply routing. This is not competition anymore, this is interdependence weaponized. Which means confrontation has consequences for both sides. For the first time since the Cold War, an American president confronts Asia without economic immunity, which explains the silence. Not confusion, not indecision, caution. Trump knows he can't stand up to China, and if you want to know why, we highly recommend you watch the 2 episodes on the screen, the rare earth minerals and the Chinese shipyards. China does not rush the United States, it moves the experiment closer. It advances Tokyo, not to defeat Japan, but to test Washington. If Japan breaks, America is never forced to choose. But if Japan holds, America eventually must. Japan is not the battlefield, Japan is the trigger. Japan is not the target. Japan is the experiment. China is not retaliating emotionally, it is executing doctrine. When Beijing applies pressure, it does not look for headlines, it looks for control points. 1. Market access. Control the money first. China is not Japan's enemy, China is Japan's largest market. Which makes it Japan's largest vulnerability. Japanese revenue does not live in Tokyo. It circulates in Shanghai, Shenzhen, Beijing, Guangzhou, Hangzhou. Chinese policy does not destroy companies, it cuts their oxygen. Tourism was not symbolic, it was targeted. Luxury retailers, cosmetics conglomerates, department stores, theme parks, and transit hubs. China did not cancel vacations, it canceled revenue streams. 2. Education. Strangle long range, not short range. In 2024, 124,000 Chinese students were enrolled in Japan, they formed 37% of the entire foreign student population. This is not cultural exchange. This is tuition flow, housing demand, city economies, service labor, university budgets, and municipal revenue. When China suspended academic tours, it did not issue a press release, it issued damage. Education is not soft power, education is future earnings. 3. Culture. Delete presence before policy. China did not ban speech, it banned visibility. Concerts cancelled, exhibitions closed, food imports blocked. This is not accident, this is isolation by design. A country without cultural presence is a country without psychological influence. 4. Diplomacy. Erase dialogue before trust. When China cancelled the Beijing-Tokyo Forum, it did not cancel discussion, it cancelled legitimacy. That forum ran for 20 years. It survived nationalist waves, territorial standoffs, sanction cycles, political crises, and public protests. It ended when Beijing decided that Japan no longer speaks across the table, Japan is spoken about instead. 5. Military. Presence without fire. China did not escalate with combat, it escalated with proximity. Patrols intensified around the Senkaku Islands, these are not rocks, they are corridors, energy lanes, shipping routes, military positioning paths. China is not rehearsing war, it is installing presence. The doctrine is simple, control precedes conflict. When Sanai Takaichi said, existential threat, she did not speak politically, she spoke constitutionally. Japan operates under a unique legal doctrine called senshuboi, meaning defense exclusively. After World War II, Japan's constitution severely restricted military force. Japan was permitted only defensive action on its own territory. No power projection, no intervention, no foreign wars. But in 2015, Japan's parliament passed a reinterpretation law. The name mattered, the language mattered. That law permitted collective self-defense in situations that threatened Japan's survival. For 10 years, every prime minister avoided defining what threatened survival meant. Until Sanae Takaichi. She defined it, publicly, in parliament, on record. Once that phrase was spoken, Japan's military threshold was no longer hypothetical, it became procedural. Meaning, if Taiwan is invaded, Japan does not decide whether to act, it legally qualifies to act. That is why Beijing reacted violently. Sanae didn't provoke China, she activated doctrine. The political lock. Approval ratings surged, near 70%, national unity around security. If she walks back her words, she is not correcting a statement. She is betraying a mandate. In nationalist systems, retreat is not maturity, it is collapse. The strategic lock. If Japan backs down, the region hears that Japan folds under pressure. South Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, and Taiwan. Every capital hears it. Which fractures America's Asia network without a shot fired. The alliance trap. Japan expected public protection, it received private reassurance. Geopolitics does not run on reassurance, it runs on announcement. Deterrence must be visible, official, and unmistakable. Friends whisper, allies declare. And Japan received whispers. Now Japan has 3 options and none are clean. Retreat, which means permanent submission. Stand firm, meaning economic pain. Escalate to force American clarity. There is no exit door, only direction. Japan crossed a line with words. China responded with money. America answered with silence. Wars do not begin with bombs. They begin with positions. And every power in this story has already chosen one. The question is no longer, who is right? The question is, who can afford to be wrong and survive it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is the Intel Runner Plus. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's the free thing you can do to support us making content like this.